What's up, everybody? Welcome to day 3 of NoFap. The time is 8:03 p.m. I'm making this video a lot earlier because I intend to get a lot of sleep tonight. Because, as you can see, I have not made a video. I've not made 2 videos. The past 2 days have been insane. And I'm extremely exhausted. So, I had a very good rest day today, but I do want to get enough sleep so that I can recover adequately for the rest of the week. But I'll just explain to you what happened for the rest of the... This has been a very busy weekend for me. So, let's start with Friday. Friday, I was basically working, going to the gym, working, and then, I typically go with my friends I could go out and socialize with some friends. But I decided not to because of leg day. I was still sore from leg day, and going out dancing with my friends is not something I wanted to do because I would destroy myself. So I opted not to. However, another friend of mine was driving from the Bay Area to LA. And I knew that I wanted to call him. I wanted to call him and keep him company on the drive all the way back all the way to LA. So I was on call. I called him pretty late because I thought he'd be driving pretty early, and I thought, okay, I forgot to call him. Let's call him now. And it turns out when I called him, he just took off, and that was like at 7 p.m. And it takes 6 hours to drive from the Bay Area to LA. So I was basically on call with him for 6 hours, and we were just talking about life and different things about life. We talked about girls, we talked about politics, we talked about the relationships we have with the group of friends that we're in. And yeah, it was a good talk. It was a good 6 hour, and I was keeping him company so he wouldn't fall asleep on the road because he got home at 2 a.m. And it allowed me to. So I was staying up at 2 a.m. with him, but I was grateful for it because it allowed me to talk about some stuff that was going on in my mind and really just speak out the thoughts that I've been having, which really helps. But also, it was 2 a.m. and I had a fishing trip the morning, that morning too. So it was 2 a.m. I went to bed, and I woke up at around 6:30 to 7, because it would take me like 50 minutes to drive to the pier. And so I had about 4 to 5 hours of sleep, and I was dying. I was dying for that fishing trip, but still, it's pretty good. I've been doing that fishing trip. It's almost like once a month, and we still haven't caught anything. And I know that if we really want to catch something, we have to show up at like 5 a.m. It has to be like sun up, just sun up, right? So I wasn't expecting to catch anything, and sure enough, we didn't catch anything. But then we went to like Buffalo Wild Wings, which is a sports bar, to watch the World Cup. And then the team I wanted to win didn't win. It was Norway versus England. Norway didn't win. So I was dead tired the entire time, right? And I was actually like nodding off while I was driving home because of how tired I was. And then I realized, oh shoot, I can't relax after this because there's actually a going away party for one of my friends who's joining the National Guard. And so I got about an hour nap. That was not an adequate nap, but I got about an hour. I'm at least grateful for that. I got about an hour so that I didn't fall asleep while I was driving towards the party. Went to the party, had a good time, went to Denny's afterwards, and then we all said goodbye to our friend going to the National Guard. So that was fun. But I got home at around 3 3 a.m., 4 a.m., somewhere around there. So I also couldn't make a video that night. And I had to wake up. Thankfully, I didn't have to wake up too early tomorrow because I typically go to mass. So this morning, sorry, not tomorrow, this morning, I typically go to 9 a.m. mass, but this was my first time being a lector. And for those of you who aren't Catholic, being a lector means you read excerpt from the Bible to the entire, I guess, congregation. And I had the privilege to do that for 4:30 p.m. mass, which was fantastic because it allowed me to sleep in a little bit. So I got to sleep in a little bit, not too much. Went out, got some lunch, came back, prepared myself for mass, and then went to mass, came back home, and now I'm just trying to relax, do a little bit of chores because I do have to do laundry and a few dishes here and there, but now I'm making this video early so that I can upload this and then get some really good quality sleep because it has been a crazy two days and it's been an insane weekend. So me and my friend was discussing this, the friend that drove from the Bay Area to LA. We're kind of just for the rest of this, for maybe this month, we're probably going to take a break from going out every week because even he's starting to get tired. He's starting to get socially exhausted, and I'm starting to get physically exhausted because I have so much stuff to do. But he and I had a good talk about our group of friends. Because not everybody in our group of friends is Christian or practicing like Christianity, even if they say they're Christian. So you get a lot of secular people, worldly people, and you just treat them differently from people that are devout Christians. People that are actually the people that I went fishing with, that felt a little refreshing because they were more devout Catholic. But within our friend group, there's not a lot of, there are a few devout Catholics, but we're outnumbered by people that are Christians or lukewarm Christians or not practicing any kind of faith. So it becomes exhausting. We have to deal with a lot of unnecessary drama. And for him, it's exhausting to have to deal with all of that because he's a guy that's very open to those kinds of conversations. And me, I'm very not open to that kind of conversations. I don't like participating in stuff like that, and I don't. And I'm still friends with them, and I still care about them. But I'm in the camp where, hey, look, you probably shouldn't hang out with those people, but you're your own adult. You do you. So yeah, and it'll be good to take a break. And also I think me and him agreed, we got to hang out with some different people. It's not to say that we won't hang out with that group because we like that group to a degree, but we need to be around some devout Christians, some devout Catholics. So yeah. So I think for the rest of this month, or at least next week, I'm not going to be doing anything all over the weekend. Probably not going to be doing a whole lot of socializing, and just taking a break. And I think that's going to be really good for me because I can't keep doing this every week with these people. I can't. It's just exhausting physically because I do a lot compared to a lot of people in our group. I do quite a lot, and I lose out on sleep. But I also want to just stay away from the drama. So, and I want to be around people that I feel relaxed and at peace with, and those people are Catholics. I need some wholesome people. I'm tired of all the people that are so worldly and secular. Even the ones that are like lukewarm Christians. I can't be around those people for too long. But anyway, I digress. let's get into your... NoFap was easy because of how busy my weekend has been, you know? So I'm going to... obviously, whatever's upcoming, I'm still going to, you know, I'm going to be a little bit more on my guard. And I am wanting to get back into my business stuff, but I definitely need to be more on my guard about scrolling through social media and you know, other forms of easy dopamine. You know, other forms of easy, like, click the button, get dopamine kind of, like, stuff, right? And social media is one of them. And X, you know, X is where I stay up to date on politics and stay up to date with, you know, what's going on in the world. But I think that it is, you know, I think it is becoming a little bit of a dopamine hit, because when you scroll through things and you're like, and these aren't even pictures and these aren't even like flashy images sometimes, but these are just people that you agree with and agree with you. It's just like, wow, nice, awesome, that feels good. Like, you know, I gotta get away from that. I gotta get away from that. So need to be more on my guard about that. And that's and I explained it last video, like that's something that I need to be more on guard, like more aware of, you know. It's not just pornography. It is anything that gives you that easy dopamine hit, because it'll just lead to pornography, right? But anyway, let's get to your comments and questions. Butterfly effect. Doom scrolling will get you every time. Yeah, no kidding. During my last relapse, that's exactly what got me. I was using cheap dopamine as a pre-lapse to try and prevent a total relapse. I do that with video games. I honest to God, I do that with video games. And it's a great way to distract myself from pornography, but it's not adequate. It's not like an adequate fix, right? It's not a healthy dopamine, because it is easy dopamine. Even if you are playing like a difficult game, it is easy. I guess it also depends on what game you're playing. Because if you're playing like Dark Souls or Elden Ring or something like that, that's actually really hard. Maybe a case can be made for it, because it's not easy to get the easy dopamine, right? But you know, some games it's just easy dopamine, and also and it's also a waste of time. You know, it's all artificial. You're not really achieving anything. It's kind of like a phantom achievement, which is where the dopamine comes from. But anyway, I was using cheap dopamine as a pre-lapse to try and prevent a total relapse, but it was just putting cracks in the dam until the whole thing collapsed. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it's pretty similar to what I just said, but you know, better articulated through a metaphor. Starting the morning swiping on your phone drains the spiritual battery before your feet hit the floor. Yeah, that's the phone is staying away from my like bedside. Like that's the new rule. No phone by the bedside anymore. When you're exhausted from grinding out gig work, it's easy to lay in bed to catch your breath, but that's exactly when your defenses are down. By the time that post popped up on X, your attention's already fractured. Yep, the enemy doesn't care if it's an intellectual debate or a provocative dress. It all leads to the same trap. Yeah, honestly. And you know, coming back from gig work, just running around, picking out, like doing shopping, doing little groceries and stuff like that. It can be, when I do come back, and I do come back exhausted, it's very tempting to just be like, and I'll allow myself to be rewarded, but there is a problem if I reward myself too much, right? So let's see. That's why you feel anxious about. That's why you felt anxious at the gym later. Your mind was hyper stimulated and carrying the weight of the relapse. Going straight to confession took real humility. You broke the spiral, learned the lesson, and wiped the slate clean. Before moving your phone, you understand that moving your phone may just be a band-aid. You have to starve the disease, not just manage the symptoms. That's true. That's true. I think like staying up to date on the world and what's going on isn't entirely a bad thing. You can form opinion. It allows you to form an opinion and think think on a deeper level about power and how power works and stuff like that. But if it becomes like a distraction and it becomes a prelapse, as you say, then you're doing a lot more harm than good, because it does stimulate me intellectually, because I do get to think about like stuff on a deeper level. Like politics. Politics is fascinating because it's just how power moves. That's how power moves, how power is taken, how power is lost. And that's, especially as a man, that's fascinating. But sometimes it'll do more harm than good if it becomes just mindless scrolling, and not like dedicated reading and just listening to other people's opinions instead of like, right, well, let's look at the news article and read through the news article, right? So, yeah, and there's other things too, but because your business requires you to be on the computer, you're stepping right into the danger zone just to make a living. When you combine that with daily friction, like a $90 parking fine on a $30 grocery batch, or hunting for lettuce at 99 Ranch, it turns into major micro stress. You sit down at work completely spent, and that's exactly when the enemy weaponizes your fatigue to blindside you. Yeah. That's certainly a risk. I think the business part, being online for business part, is probably the biggest out of all of those things, because I will say this, I've learned, I guess, not deal with stress, but just accept it and be like, this is how life is. That's the kind of stuff I learned from Tate, is just like, life is stressful. That's just the truth of it all. And it's taking that stress and, saying, this is my burden as a man, is to be able to take this stress, because if I can take it, then I'm taking it for somebody else, right? And that's a message that I do like from Tate. But I also understand, like, some people can't handle a whole load of it. But the biggest danger for me out of all of those things is definitely my business being online is probably the biggest hurdle to overcome, because the distractions are just there, and especially because I have to analyze social media and social media marketing, and because I sell on social media, I have to look at other people's ads also and analyze how they're selling it, what their video is saying, or what their article is saying, or what their photo is saying, and analyze advertising. And I have to analyze basically how social media captures attention. And so the risk is jumping into the algorithm, and the fascinating part is I get to notice if I have to notice if I'm getting drawn into doom scrolling, and then I have to be like, how in the world did they, like, I have to take that, recognize it, and say, how in the world do I do that too? Right? How in the world do I capture attention, keep attention, and then monetize attention? Right? So I'm in the trenches, basically, when it comes to that kind of hyperstimulation. I'm taking a part in that kind of environment and trying to do that, to try and sell stuff. So, it's the risk. It is a risk. However, I also know that if I manage to get this right correctly once, then I'll get rich, which is nice. And I'll have a successful business. And then the game now is trying to keep the business alive instead of trying to... Right now I'm trying to get life into my business But the game after that is trying to keep life and keep feeding it, right? So, anyway, all right. Video's gone on a little bit too long, so I'm gonna, and I still got more comments to read too, so I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. On a final note, expecting any future spouse to care for her health and treat her body as God's temple isn't judgmental. It's a foundational requirement for a godly life. Don't count out the girls with real character. Lust demands instant chemistry, but true attraction grows out of shared duty and respect inside of a covenant. Yeah, I agree. It isn't that it's it's not a deal breaker, right? Not the things that are attractive to me, which is chemistry, right? The things that are attractive to me aren't deal breakers. They're things that I can overlook if I can see that willingness to partake in this covenant and this vocation of marriage, right? And it's not even ready. It's willing, at the very least, willing to partake in the vocation, right? And that does come with looking at her actions, and part of her actions is taking care of herself and all of that. So it kind of goes hand in hand, some of it, you know. So I'll see somebody that doesn't, you know, if they don't treat their health and their body correctly, I do see that as not stewarding something that God has given you. And so I'm not trying to be judgmental. But it is just an indicator of, are you being a good steward? And if you are being a good steward, then I'm attracted to that. If you're not going to be a good steward, then there's going to be signs. And the signs are, you're a little rotund. I'm just saying. Of course, it's not an end-all be-all, right? Of course, it's not the end-all be-all. But it is a sign. So, is it a red flag? No. Is it a yellow flag? Yeah. So, keep up the fight. Peace. Thanks, Butterfly Effect. You're a real one. Thank you. Bass Pro Shop, day 27 after relapsing 111 days. Don't give up. Hey, thanks, man. And day 27 is impressive. And I understand. I relapsed. I think my highest streak was like day 130 when I was like in my 20s. So, yeah, and that's honestly impressive, right? Because you went about a third of a year without relapsing. Right? That accumulates. It does really accumulate. It's a greater achievement, because I used to relapse almost every day. Let's just, when I was way younger, in my teens and my early 20s, I used to relapse every day, right? If I relapsed every other day, I would have cut the amount of times I would relapse in half, right? So, you know, it's important to see the victories and see how worse it could be. When you see how worse things could be, you become grateful for where you are, right? And that's the issues a lot of people have, is because they want more, but they don't realize that, they don't look back enough and realize, like, you have it really good. Like, things could be worse. When you realize things could be worse, you're grateful for everything you have right now. So, yeah, I agree. I'm not going to give up, and you know, day 27 is impressive. So keep it up. Keep it up. Every single day is a victory. So, next. Andrew, relapses happen, but they do not erase the progress you've already made. One difficult moment doesn't define you. How you respond to it does. Don't let guilt convince you to give up. Learn from what triggered it, pick yourself up, and keep moving forward. Every day is a new opportunity to become the person you want to be. Stay focused on your goal. Be patient with yourself. And remember that real progress is built through persistence, not perfection. You've got this. Keep fighting, keep growing, and never give up. All the best, brother. Thank you. I appreciate the encouragement. 8 days, considering I started again on number 12, and now I'm on 18, and I've been relapsing like 8 days is pretty good. And so now it's just constantly trying to improve, trying to get better, trying to see areas where I have screwed up. And I've had, you know, it's always important to analyze. You can't allow your emotions to just get you down and make you feel bad. take the emotion out of it and start analyzing. Start thinking, what went wrong? You know, because if you don't think about that, you're going to fall for the same thing over and over again. You're not growing at that point. If you're not growing, you might as well die. All right? So start thinking about stuff. Start thinking about like what went wrong. How did it go wrong? And if you can't figure it out, then you've got some major work you need to do, right? So pick up a book, do some meditation, pray, all of that stuff. Become a little bit more mindful, be a little bit more aware, have some wisdom, have some discernment. And when you have some discernment, you can start picking up on how like the things that are going wrong. And then start becoming the person that's trying to solve problems. Because that's why I like business, is because it allows me to pick a problem and try and solve it for someone. So, yeah. But thank you. Thank you for the encouragement. Mike, besides Walmart, the other large supermarket in my town is H-E-B, because we don't have a Buc-ee's. Interesting. And Buc-ee's isn't a supermarket. Oh. It's more like a 75,000 square foot convenience store, takeout, fast food restaurant shop for stuff you didn't know you needed until you saw it, with 120 fuel pumps outside the cleanest restrooms and the cleanest restrooms known to man. There are currently 36 locations in Texas and 20 more in Alabama, Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, Missouri, Ohio, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. I'm so impressed that you know this, Mike. I'm very impressed that you know this. But I've heard a lot of stories about Buc-ee's and how amazing it is. And I'm so curious to check one out. And I want to, but I don't live in any of those states. So I do want to check out a Buc-ee's eventually. I have to make a trip of it. It's definitely like, it feels like a culture thing, like a Southern culture thing. And I know that it's not mainly in the South, because Colorado's on that list. But I do want to check it out. I'm going to check it out one day and see what the fuss is all about. Definitely maybe like a road trip thing. But anyway, that's all the comments for today. Thank you all for your lovely comments. I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question for you guys to put in the comments. So my question to you guys is, what's your goal with NoFap? What's your goal with NoFap, right? That's what I want. Because obviously the whole point of NoFap is to stop being addicted to pornography. But what is your goal after that, right? Because let's say you beat pornography, your porn addiction, right? You get to your 90 days and you go beyond that, and you finally kicked this habit. What drove you, right? What's driving you to continue NoFap, right? It could be self-improvement. It could be because your girl, you have a girlfriend and she's, you don't want to keep hurting her, or you're looking for a girlfriend and you know that this is stunting your social interactions and how you interact with women, stuff like that. For me personally, it was because I was a socially awkward person in my teenage years and even into my early 20s. I knew I could be a charismatic person. I knew I could be the kind of person that has, that can talk to people on a regular basis and not be an awkward person, right? And so that's what kind of, and I saw pornography, my pornography addiction, as something that was preventing that. And I think it was because I noticed, like, every time I would relapse, I would get real, like my body would heat up because of the awkwardness, right? If I had a feeling that I was being awkward, my body would heat up, and I would feel like my heart's racing and all that stuff, and I just don't know what to say, and I'm sweating, my palms getting sweaty and all that stuff. Just in a conversation with somebody, right? But if I had not relapsed, like in like a day or two or in 3 days, I wouldn't get that feeling. And I was like, okay, pornography is probably causing this because I've tested it. So, and it's true. It's true. The more I do actively try to like continue with NoFap, the more charismatic I've been. The more I've been able to interact with people and treat them normally. So, yeah. And once I finally beat this thing, it's kind of like, okay, great. Now I'm ready to. Now I feel like I could be trusted a little bit more to steward a wife, right? And it's not to say that I can't right now, because I am trying, right? But I think I would be a little bit more ready to be a steward to a wife, right? Be a husband to a wife, right? Because I'm not putting her to shame by watching pornography. So, yeah, that's me. But I want to know yours. Comment down below. I want to know what it is. What's driving you to continue NoFap. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all for watching. The weekdays starting tomorrow, we're gonna hit the ground running, and we're gonna get some good sleep tonight. That's the goal. That's the goal. Is get some good sleep tonight. But thank you all for watching. I hope your NoFap journeys are going well. I'm praying for you guys, and I hope you guys are praying for me. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.